Good morning, my badass friends. My name is Cece, and this is my badass life. You will see today I am wearing my Be Kind shirt for a reason. Obviously, we all know what's going on in the world, right? And I'm wearing my boyfriend flannel. By the way, I absolutely hate that they call it that. I mean, if you're going to get stereotypical about flannel, shouldn't you call it lesbian flannel? Because pretty sure that's more appropriate a term, but everybody calls it boyfriend flannel because, you know, we must all have boyfriends, at least in the new era, regime, whatever you want to call it. So, wow, I am all over the place today. And while I don't want to come to you and be a downer all the time, I think it's super important to process a lot of the things that are going on in my mind and a lot of things that I'm sure are going on in your mind. So, you know, oftentimes because I'm a verbal processor, this is my way of doing that. So take what you like, leave the rest. But I don't know about you, but I have found that my sleep schedule has been quite interrupted since January 20th, a very momentous day. And I don't mean because it was Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. May he rest in power. Wow. Just, it seems like every day you wake up and there's more news and more anxiety and more things to fear. And so today, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, you know, health, right? And our general well-being, because clearly, after the election, my general well-being was very affected. And then, you know, there was a little bit of a lull in between and things almost felt like they got back to normal. And then January 20th happened and wham, right? We're all back in it. And we're all back in it drinking out of a fire hose now because of a million executive orders and a number of things. And but health-wise, you know, it's very important that we find ways to process through and release all these emotions that we're feeling: fear, anger, disappointment, and just the general struggle, and also to recognize that those emotions are really important. We can't ignore those. We have to address them. We have to accept them, and sometimes they're a catalyst for better things to come. My concern is always that they will also be a catalyst for illness for me. So I have said a million times that I firmly believe in the mind-body connection to illness, and that I believe that my cancer diagnosis was a big result of a lot of the things that were happening in my life and in my body and in my mind and my emotions leading up to the diagnosis. So, you know, unresolved grief over the death of my father, my anger at the general populace in regard to the COVID response, and lack of compassion and empathy, and truly just lack of common courtesy with people and how they behaved. And then there was the whole racial injustice thing that was happening around that time, and it just went on and on, right? And well, now, of course, a lot of those same feelings are being triggered, at least for me. And so it's a lot to unpack. And so, you know, you start to think, you know, if that's the state that I was in that got me diagnosed with stage 3B colorectal cancer, then how is this, what is happening in my body because of all this emotion, and what do I do with that? And I don't really have any great answers. I can tell you I'm doing a lot of Insight Timer courses right now. Insight Timer is a free app that you can download. There's a lot of great courses right now. I'm reading a lot of different books right now, everything from sort of metaphysical, spiritual, some new age stuff, all the way down to Amy and I read a book while we were gone called Too Much by Terry Cole. It's about high functioning codependence, of which we are in that category. It was a bit eye-opening for us. We read that while we were on vacation. By the way, we're back. It doesn't look like we're back, but we're back because we still have tons and tons of great footage to post from the national parks, Big Bend and Guadalupe Mountains and Carlsberg Caverns. And I'm also reading a great book right now called Mind Over Medicine. Now, this is not an anti-medicine Medicine book. Lissa Rankin is very much a believer in Western medicine, but she is also very much a believer in the mind-body connection to medicine. And I am loving this book so far. I haven't gotten all the way through it. And I hesitate to say that yet because I'm always waiting for that other shoe to drop where they say, medicine is evil and only your mind can heal you. But she seems to be a proponent of the blend, which is what I keep saying, right? The whole integrative process. I absolutely needed Western medicine to cure stage 3B rectal cancer, but I also did all of the mind, body, spirit work to do it as well. And so, everybody has to do cancer their own way. Everybody makes their own path. Everybody can make their own choices about their own body and their own health, and that's fine. It's none of my business what you choose to do with your body. But for me, I very much believe in that integrated approach. And so, all that being said, I'm back to the current regime and the effect that it's having on my system, and really struggling as an HSP, highly sensitive person, and an empath, being able to chill, turn it off, that whole idea, it's funny because Amy said something the other night, something came on TV and I made a snarky joke that had to do with, the situation we're in. And she said, my God, it is on your brain 24/7. And I'm like, yeah, it's hard not to be. And again, as a cancer survivor and a lesbian, I don't have the luxury of ignoring the news, of not being informed. So I at least have to be somewhat informed. I am trying to balance it, but again, part of the methodology right now, I believe, is that they want us to see it all happening so quickly. They want us all to be drinking from a fire hose. And I saw some very, very disturbing things this morning. And it's so fascinating to me because some of the same people who are worried about me and my health are also people who voted that way. And so that's hard to reconcile. And so one of the things, I had an epiphany this morning. And I realized that one of the reasons why I'm struggling so much with this current, and I keep calling it a regime, and many of you know why. And I just won't use the name because I'm just not willing to feed the narcissist. But many of you, I realized that one of the reasons why I'm so disappointed and so disillusioned and so upset is that this regime is bringing out the absolute worst in some of my friends and family. And that hit me today like a ton of bricks, right? It's bringing out all of their fear, but completely opposite from me, right? It's bringing out all of their fear. It's bringing out all of their prejudice. It's bringing out this side of people that had all this not transpired, we would have never known about, right? Friends especially, and friends you can walk away from if you need to, but family you can't. And so, there was a member of our family, our family, meaning mine and Amy's family, so I'm not going to specify which side. There was a member of our family whose birthday it was recently. And we actually thought twice about whether to call that person on their birthday because we were afraid the topic would come up. And then the phone call happened and that was fine. And none of it was discussed and that was good. The phone call lasted 5 minutes because that's all we could do. And I said afterwards, I wonder what she's thinking about all of this, all of the recent events, the pardoning and all of the things. And we were like, we don't know, and we don't really want to know. Well, then later on, there was a different conversation with a different family member, which revealed that the family member that we had called for the birthday was actually thrilled about all of it. And now this is a person who is older, and by older, I mean, 80s, and typically very black and white, very much a rule follower, very much the rule of law, would have always respected anybody in law enforcement or anything like that. And to hear that person was thrilled at all of the things transpiring right now, it was just like, wow. I mean, it just made me take a step back. And again, all those triggers bring up a lot of stuff, right? But I realized it's bringing out this entire situation is either bringing out the worst in people or it's bringing out the best. Now we've come to realize that, people voted the way that they voted because of their fears, just like we voted the way we voted because of what we feared. And now we're living in what we feared. And so, they feel like their fears will now be assuaged and solved, by the, anyway. And so, on one hand, you have to respect somebody trying to get their needs met. But yet, I think inherently, I thought by now, at least some people would be like, what the fuck did I do with this vote? What was I thinking? And that hasn't happened yet. In fact, quite the opposite. So I don't know where I'm going with this. I just, worse than losing my health care, worse than knowing cancer research has been stalled because the NIH website, and a million other websites have been taken offline. Anything relating to LGBTQ+, anything related to women's health, anything related to HIV, because HIV only affects the gay population, right? And anything, it's just the whole, the CDC has been muted at the moment, and who knows where we're going to end up. And so, aside from all of that, aside from the fact that I could lose my health care because the ACA is on the chopping block, and that would mean pre-existing conditions also are on the chopping block for private medical insurance, which I've shared with you in the past, I can't get, being a cancer survivor. And then, potentially losing my rights, not just as an LGBTQ individual, but also as a married LGBTQ individual, would put us back literally 20 years. Wow, it's hard to go backward, right? It's hard to go backward, at least for some of us. And there's just so much right now, so much, and we're just being bombarded with it all. And worse than all of that is the fact that this is bringing out the worst in the people that I know and love. And I'm afraid to ask some close family members where they're at with all this, because quite frankly, I don't want to hear the answer. Who could blame me, right? So for anybody else today who's feeling like this about this, I just wanted to let you know you weren't alone. You aren't alone. And we all have to find our way through this. And we're all in this together. Despite the division, we are all in this together. We can still love the people we love, despite their choices. And we can still survive this and even thrive through this. It just may look very different than what we were expecting. So I encourage everybody today, find some outlets. Right now it's freezing cold outside, so I can't go out for a walk, but I have been stretching and working out every morning for an hour, and being in the pool and reading and meditating. Insight Timer, download Insight Timer. It's so powerful. Find ways to keep your brain not focused on this 24/7. If you need to stay informed, understandable, very important. Find humor in the things that you can. Find humor on the internet if you can, and just stay well. One of my mantras that constantly goes through my head is, I am safe, I am well, I am strong. I am safe, I am well, I am strong. And so you can steal that, or you can make up your own, but come up with a mantra that you can have in your head. And I did an Insight Timer course today where we talked about emotions, and there was a fantastic tool that she shared, and it was to identify the emotion, rank it on a scale of 1 to 10, how severe it is, and then take a drink of water, name the emotion again, and then say, you can leave now. So in this case, fear, you can leave now. And however you ranked it, so like, let's say your fear is a 8 on the scale, then you say, you can leave now, 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 fear, you can leave now, fear, you can leave now, fear, you can leave now. Oh, look at that, I had my middle finger up. Maybe not an accident, Freudian slip perhaps. And fear, you can leave now. And then take another drink of water afterwards. Reevaluate, where are you at? Are you in that same spot? If you are, or if you aren't, and let's say your fear will drop from an 8 to a 5, take another drink of water, do it again, do it for 5, and see how it goes. If other emotions come up during that time, you can then do the same exercise with those. Filter them out. Anger, for instance, take that, rank it. Take the drink of water. You can leave now. Do the count. It's a way of doing this. By the way, that was Alice Lippincott on Insight Timer. I'm happy to share these tools as I can. I love you. Take care of yourselves. It's very important right now. Hug the people you love. Have the best day you can.